What? Salut, je m'appelle Marc, j'enseigne les chants et je parle un français affreux. Allez, parlons de Gojira. Okay, people, silliness aside, I don't speak French. Used to be kind of okay at it, but to all my students in Quebec, I'm sorry. Because that was probably terrible and my grammar was probably crap. My name is Mark. Welcome to Cardivox Academy. On this channel, we take the reaction format. We look at distorted singers, metal screamers, deathcore, death metal, prog, whatever you want to call it, whichever genre we're looking at, and we take that reaction format, we make it a little bit more educational, entertainment, and today we're going to be talking about Gojira, Another World. Now, I myself am a metal vocal coach. I teach everything from deep, nasty, gnarly gutturals, piercing, shrieking highs, as well as clean singing. In fact, clean singing is very important to metal singing, as I'm sure we're going to learn from this song. Now, if you are new to the channel, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, assuming you enjoy the content. Really helps out a lot. We're having a lot of fun doing this, and, we're going to jump into it today. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there are links below where you can get one-on-one lessons, you can get vocal evaluations, you can join the Patreon and pick a video. We'll put your vote in to pick a video every month, but let's just go ahead and get into it. Now, while I was scrubbing through the video, I always scrub through to find a good picture, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, this video definitely looks different than what I'm used to. So I'm pretty excited. I know this video's been out for about a week, but let's get weird. Okay, so that seems like a cool place to stop. First and foremost, this song definitely has a more meditative state than I was expecting. Maybe that makes sense with the lyrical content. I'm not too familiar with it. But let's talk a little bit about Duplantier's vocals here. So if you are wanting to go for this type of vocal, all you have to do is just yell really loud. Okay, I'm totally kidding. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Don't pull that clip out of context, folks. All right, seriously, when we hear his voice, especially if, we're not singers or screamers ourselves, or if we're a bit untrained, we may hear one sound, right? We might hear one yell. Yay! Ay, ay! Right, but that sound is actually multiple things layered on top of each other. Anytime we do any vocalization, anytime we're singing, we're screaming, we're talking, even if we're burping, although I don't know if you would consider that a vocalization, but anytime we're doing any type of vocalization, we're creating a balance of different features in our head, right? We're pointing the resonance, we're supporting the breath, we're, in this case, adding distortion, and we're doing so very often as a byproduct of all those things working together. One thing I tell a lot of my students, especially when they're doing stuff like this, is don't think of the distortion as something you're turning on, a switch you're flipping. Think of it as a result of the posture that you have going on in your mouth, and then the soft tissues above will rattle in accordance to that. Okay, because oftentimes when we think about turning on the distortion, we go, right? And I see that all the time. 99% of the time that's a broad statistic, but I will say the vast majority of the time when students come to me and they're like, hey, my tone sounds good. My tone sounds good, but it hurts. What am I doing wrong? They're usually thinking about distortion in the wrong way. The way we think about things actually really has a strong impact on our vocal anatomy. So we'll talk a little bit more in depth here soon about how to do things like this, but let's listen to a little bit more of the song. Also, I'm getting serious Borderlands 2 vibes from this video, which is interesting too, because now that I think about it, a few summers ago, Nico's the guitarist in my band Kardashev. Nico and I would play Borderlands 2 together and put L'Enfant Sauvage on repeat. So funky. This song's lyrical content is quite appropriate to what's going on these days. But I'm not going to go into that because that's not what we do here. Let's talk a little bit about, it sounds like we've got a good change in the song coming up here. We'll go back a couple seconds to enjoy the lead-in together. But let's talk a little bit more. Let's get some details into how he's making these sounds. What is he doing, you know? I talked about the voice being multiple things stacked on top of each other. Now, this type of vocalization, it would require a lot of one-on-one work for me to really make sure that you've got everything down pat, but I can give you good starting points here. So the first is that you are going to add, in the way that I teach and the way that I view this is the grit comes last, okay? We really have to know how to support powerful belted notes very, very well before we start putting distortion on stuff, because distortion is going to amplify what we're doing. And in turn, if we're pushing too hard in the wrong place, for example, if I take, I don't know, what's an easy note here? Yeah, hey, right? If I take that note, hey, now you'll notice that that's very big and bold and supported. Hey, yay, right? There's no grit on there. Now, if you're singing this note, hey, but it's down here, hey, 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 you're not ready to put distortion on it. And that's not me like gatekeeping. That's me just being concerned for your safety, right? When we have these very forward, very supported, very raspy, gritty yells and shouts, or we should call them belts. We should call them what they are versus just yelling and shouting, because that can send the wrong message. Because we're not like yelling or shouting. If you look at me, when I do stuff like this, yeah, I'm very relaxed, and you can be too. Like it's going to be a combination of three things, okay? The first is going to be relaxation. We want to make sure that our neck muscles are very, very soft. Number two is we want to understand how we use the diaphragm. We want to understand that we control it primarily by the ribs and the abdominal muscles. And then on top of that, we want to make sure that our resonance isn't in our throat, but we're pointing it forward. You can hear the difference of this because, I don't know, let's do this. E, 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 right there like that. That's nice and forward. I'm going to take that same sound. It's going to be the same pitch, basically, and you're going to hear that it gets really weak and unsupported. Hey, not very good. Hey. Now I'm going to put it back up. Hey. That forward resonance is what makes it so it doesn't hurt. So when you're doing this, really think about your forward resonance, and you may even want to balance it with a little palatal resonance as well, raising that soft palate. That's going to basically say to the the sound waves. Hey, go up here and forward. Don't just stick here. You wanna aim your voice that way. Now I do a lot of resonance exercises and resonance work with people, but let's keep going, and then we can talk a little bit about where this gritty sound comes from. But let's keep going. I'm gonna go back, maybe right about here, because it sounded like there was a cool drum change, and it's fun. It's fun. The abruptness of Gojira's transitions is kind of what gives them their sound, and they make it work, and I'm not sure how. If you have any insight on that, if you're a composer, let me know. What? That was so sick. You know, I will say, before I decided to react to this song on Alex's suggestion. Alex is my business partner. I was talking to my friends, some of my friends, about it. And they were like, you know, this song's just not as heavy as it needs to be. It's not heavy enough. This song's not brutal enough, bro. And like, who freaking cares? This song is groovy. It's elegant. It's well constructed. I love it. I'm glad it's not super heavy. There's room for elegance, y'all. But let's talk about something. So there was some clean singing in there. And oftentimes when we hear clean singing as metal vocalists, we're like, cool, those are cleans. But I want to talk about something he was doing very well that a lot of people have trouble with on their cleans. And let's talk about even airflow and how it affects intonation, okay? So I don't remember the melody off the top of my head, but it was something like, ah, was that right? Ah, I think that was it. Ah. Now, when we're talking about intonation, we're talking about the way we move from one note to another, right? So can you go ba, 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 ba with accuracy? Now, in long sections like this, I work with some students, they're like, when I'm singing staccato sections, I can hit my intonation every time. Why can't I do it with legato? And the answer, well, there are many answers to this, but the most common one, and if you're out there trying to sing and you're running into this issue as well, when you change those notes, you have a little bit of a waver. Ah, you know? Oftentimes what happens is rather than moving the pitch, we're pulsing our airflow. Okay. Now, this isn't necessarily a hard and fast rule all the time, because I think we should view singing as and screaming as a playground, right? We have as much creativity as we want as long as we're being safe. But what'll happen is people, they like switch their notes, keeping it legato kinda with a breath pulse. Ah, you ever heard that? If somebody wants to go ah, they'll go ah. When you're pulsing that air, it can make it a little difficult, and it takes away the delicacy of the legato line itself. So when we're moving pitch, let's think about, especially through a legato section, let's think about our airway, our vocal tract, being a nice neutral tube for sound to move through. We give just enough diaphragm, right? We give just enough diaphragm to make enough air to go, ah, like that, ah. And then all we do is we move the pitch, ah, like that. It's going to make it a lot easier for us. Oftentimes, if you're having difficulty singing, you're just working too hard. That's really a lot of what my job is, just teaching people how to relax. But anyways, I'm going to go back again because that was a really cool build-up. And then we'll listen to a little bit more of his vocals, and then we'll talk about the grit. Here we go. gonna see? What are they gonna see? That's a real Planet of the Apes moment there. I'm gonna stop it on that frame just because it's beautiful and I want to have it up. Okay, so really fascinating video, beautiful song. I love that. I want to listen to it like 50 more times before I decide if it's like one of my favorites. But first impressions, very good. Now, as promised, let's talk a little bit about how he gets that grit. First of all, like I said, you need to be able to hold and sustain a note with good support. Another world, another place to burn. Right? Now, once we can do that relaxed, our larynx isn't going ba, 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 up and down, up and down. We're not hitting that note and going, ah! You hear how that pull? Ah! We're just keeping the larynx as neutral as we can. It's got to move a little bit, but we don't want it to move too much. We need to understand that the distortion is not coming from the vocal folds. Wrong, incorrect. When I do this, I don't feel any grit or graveliness on my vocal folds. You can, this is where I'm going to get in trouble. This is where I'm going to get an actually, but if you're having trouble putting fry distortion on clean singing, this is a great alternative, okay? Because what you can do is you can just narrow the airway above the vocal folds, right? So we've talked on this channel before in the Slaughter to Prevail video, we've talked about the oropharynx, right? And in the oropharynx, we have the back of the mouth, like the very, very far back. We've got the base of the tongue kind of moving forward out of the oropharynx. We've got the soft palate, that little area there. We can learn to tense it, and then as we move air forward, the air pressure naturally creates that distortion. So all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be activating back there. Another place, another place to burn, another place to burn. I don't know if I got the melody right there. Let me try again. Another world, another place to burn. I think that was right. So when we're approaching it that way, and you can hear I'm not sputtering, I'm not out of breath, I'm not like coughing or anything like that. The key to these harsh sounds is relaxing here. Oh, there we go. Relaxing here, engaging here. And then, of course, supporting here. There's a lot more to it than that. If this is something you're trying to do and you're having a difficult time, check the description for low. Check the description for low. That is literally what I just said. Check the description below. I've got info on one-on-one lessons, vocal evaluations. If you don't have the time to do a full lesson, you want me to listen to a clip and get some feedback, I've got information on how you can do that as well. Also got information on my own projects, Kardashev, Neverbreath, and Viremia. But again, thank you so much for checking out Gojira, Another World, with me. Great song, great band, and thank you to all my patrons. I think that's gonna cover it. Let's have another sip of food dye water. Flavorless. Merci beaucoup. Je t'aime beaucoup.